Well, hello and welcome to another episode of Tip Top Tips Edu with me, Mark Anderson, Head of Education at NetSupport Group. And I'm really excited to welcome a previous guest onto the show today to learn about and learn more about our new and latest award-winning product here at NetSupport, classroom.cloud. So welcome again to the show, Andy Earp. Welcome, Andy. How are you doing?
I'm good, thank you. Yeah, very well, thank you. Yourself?
Yeah, I'm really, really good, thank you. I'm so excited
Excellent.
to learn more about classroom.cloud. It's been doing really well. It's won an award this last week, hasn't it? It's so great to see that
Yeah.
it's really hitting the ground running in supporting schools. But you're here today to share some of the sort of technical parts and aspects about how you can set a variety of things up, aren't you? Should we jump sort of straight back into that?
Yeah, let's go for it.
Cool. Okay. So the first question I've got for you really on here is, how do I assign devices, device groups with Classroom Cloud? How do we go about doing that?
Okay, so this is quite an important thing to kind of mention. It's something we get asked about quite a bit. Now, it's important that you use device groups. And one of the reasons for this is you can assign specific settings based on device groups. So you can do things such as whether you want to disable the student chat feature or whether you want to apply custom messages for those devices in those specific groups. So it's really important that you move devices once you deploy the Classroom Cloud student to them, that you assign those to their relevant groups. And that is a process that you can do within the admin console. So you can essentially do bulk assignments of devices, or you can move them individually to the required ones. Now, if you don't assign your device to device groups, essentially they would sit in the unassigned device group, which means that they would be classed as unlicensed. So you wouldn't be connecting to those. So it's really important that you go into your site in the product and actually assign those devices to the relevant groups. If you're using the Microsoft and Google integration that's included, you still need to create device groups and assign devices to those. Now, you won't need to link those to your class list because that's all handled as part of that integration. But if you're not using those methods of integration to bring up your classes, and when you create your classes and you want to assign those, essentially you need to link those two device groups. So it's really important that you go into the console and ensure that your devices are all assigned.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, Andy. And if you're sitting there thinking, well, that sounds great. How do I go about doing that? Don't worry. To go with this video, we've got support documents for you to sort of go through, which will talk you through all those different parts. So don't worry about Andy not showing you where to click and what to click on and all those different things. We've got resources for you to support you with all of those things. Don't worry about that. So the next question for you, Andy, is related to people outside your organisation, I'm guessing. How do you invite users to your organisation in classroom.cloud?
Yeah, sure. So again, there's a couple of different ways of doing this within the product. You can manually invite individual users and you can set their specific role. So you just would simply type in their email address and then what role and then what site you want to link them to. Alternatively, though, if you've got lots of users that you want to import, obviously you don't want to be having to send out manual invites to all of those individually. So it supports a method where you can have a CSV file that includes all of your users, and again you just need to put that in a format that would include information such as the title, name, email, the role, and the type and the site that you want to link that to, and then you can import that to do a bulk invite, if you like, to your staff members, and that's a much easier way of doing it. So you've got the two kind of choices there. So if you've got a new member of staff, you could just send it out individually to them, but if you're just first starting to set it up, then the bulk one. Now, when you go into the product, there is actually a sample CSV, so you'll be able to see what format is required, and that's really helpful for piecing that together.
Oh, that's super useful. And it's great you got the option to do it manually for the one-off, like you said, for a new member of staff or a cover teacher or somebody like that. And when you're setting everything up in one go, having that and having a template as well, I guess, is really, really useful, just so everyone knows what needs to go where and how they fill it in and things. That's really great to hear. Thank you so much, Andy. Another question that you regularly get, from what I understand, is how you can work with it and sort of prepare screen prompt behavior on Chrome devices. Can you share a bit about that, please?
Yeah, so this is quite again, it's something that we do get asked. Now, for Chrome devices, you capture the entire desktop where you're capturing everything from that device. The downside of that is the constraint that is part of the Chrome operating system is that a prompt has to pop up on the students, and they have to allow you to be able to then share their screen so you can then see it. And obviously not everybody wants that prompt to appear on the students. So if you want to change the behavior, there is an option where you can revert it to just capturing the browser information. So if you just want to capture that without the prompt appearing on the students, then there is an option that you can specify on the device groups to allow you to toggle between that for your Chrome devices. So it's something that we make people aware of, because obviously not everybody wants to see that screen prompt, so it is configurable, but there is change in behavior when you do that. So no prompt, but you'll only be able to see the browser tabs. But if you are happy with the prompt, you'll be able to capture the entire desktop of those devices.
Brilliant, thank you. I guess that's really important as well. When you're thinking about some younger students, they might not understand what the prompt means, what to do, how to respond to it, those sorts of things as well. So I guess that removes that sort of concern you might have about whether it actually worked for you in your sort of setting as well, wouldn't it?
Exactly.
Yeah. Right. Next up, we've got a question about what privacy options are available within inside classroom.cloud. So what privacy options are available?
Yes, again, there are a number of different options available. So you can specify your school hours. So you can choose when teachers are permitted to connect to the student devices. So you can specify that. So anything outside of those hours, and the teachers won't be able to connect to those. You can also specify your term dates. So you can add all that information to the product, and then again, devices falling outside of those term dates will not be accessible by the teachers using the software. And then there's also network restrictions as well. So you can say only allow certain IP addresses, so only allow connections to students when they are connecting from a defined address. And you can also do that for wireless networks as well. So only allow students when they are connected to the following wireless networks. So again, any that fall outside of that category, you wouldn't be permitted to connect to. So that's really important. Now, that also goes in with some of the other device group settings where you can specify custom messages to appear on the student devices to show when you're connected, and also there is a accept connection feature. So maybe if you've got older students and you do want them to have a prompt appear, then you can have the accept connections option set for them via the device groups as well. So again, there's a kind of a number of settings that you can choose to ensure that you've got your privacy options configured as you need.
That's really interesting. I bet that's really sort of a big deal and a big discussion point for homeschooling as well. So when children are having to sort of learn from home, perhaps their bubbles had to close, or as we've seen recently in lockdown. As a parent myself, I wouldn't want my child's device to be monitored and all the sort of stuff outside of school hours. They're my children. Everyone watch their videos on Fortnite and all the rest of it, but perhaps wouldn't want their teachers to know what they're up to. And things, and it's incumbent on parents as well to be sort of tracking and keeping an eye on their children's usage outside of school too. It's useful though. I mean, often it's shared devices at home too, so it might be that mum's doing some Ocado shopping or something like this, and they'd have worries and concerns. Well, is the school still connected? So it's really great that those privacy options are there and available, and really transparent as well. Making sure that all sort of key stakeholders know what's happening and when and all those different things. That's really great to learn that. Thank you so much, Andy. The last question we've got for you today is about deployment methods for your clients. Now, Classroom Cloud doesn't just work on a Chromebook, does it? It works on lots of different devices. So I'm guessing that sort of relays into the question here about the virtual variety of deployment methods that are available.
It certainly does. So at the minute, we've got a Windows student, and obviously we've got the Chrome extension as well. More to come in the future. But for those agents that we've got at the moment, so for Windows, there are a number of different ways that you can deploy out the student to your devices. You've got the Active Directory group policy deployment, which we've got some details on how to do that. You could push that out with SCCM as well. Alternatively, there's a guide on how you could distribute that using Microsoft Intune. And to go with those, especially for the domain joined devices, you can also, we've got some ADMX template files today to configure the options, so such as setting your account ID, your region, and your site. So information that tells a student where to point back to, so you can configure that, which helps with essentially managing the Windows devices. For Chrome OS, it's deployment via the Google Admin Console. Again, that would be a configuration applied via a JSON file to allow you to do that centrally as well. So again, nice and simple, and there's plenty of steps and screenshots on the site to detail how to do that.
Oh, fantastic. Well, we've covered so much in such a short space of time, but it's fantastic to hear and learn all these different things, and the sort of additional functionality that sort of sits behind the product as well. As I shared at the beginning of the session, all the things that Andy has shared today, you can find in the article that goes with this and in the show notes. If you're just watching straight on YouTube, this information will be in the show notes. With links through to all the different documentation that can help you undertake the different tasks that Andy's explained in each of those different questions we've shared with you today. Right, Andy, I look forward to meeting up with you again for another chat about some of our amazing products here at NetSupport. But for now, thanks so much for joining me for Tip Top Tips Edu. I look forward to seeing you next time. Thanks so much, Andy. Take care.
Thank you. Cheers. Bye.
Cheers.